Okay, so I'm back. I've been gone for a bit. I was on vacation. Um, okay, so there's a workflow thing that I want to make note of here, which is, and by the way, this video is going to get blocked if I have this music playing in the background. So you probably can't hear that, and I hope that neither can YouTube, but I've got some old classic rock playing in the background, and if it is detectable, then it might cause my video to get blocked or some stupid thing like that. So anyway, here's what I've learned. You guys know that I have kind of a philosophy about animation called build out, which is the idea that you're just going to establish the motion that you need to create with the individual shots, which in this case, at the beginning, this is only 2 drawings, so I'm actually toggling now back and forth between them as opposed to barreling through them so they play back in real time, since they get repeated a lot. So in the initial sequence, you simply had this, then this, then this, 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 this. Okay. So what I learned is that I do like working with just this concise sequence of images, and I just sort of work out the timing in real time and make a mental note of how long shots need to take before it moves to the next frame, this sort of thing. What I learned today is that it's really important to make sure that my partner and I agree on all the keyframes before I do any timing, or better yet, what I should do is, once I have this short sequence of just the keyframes, so this would be maybe 8 drawings long. Okay, so it's just the drawings. What I should do is clone that and then turn that level off, because that way I can work out the timing, and then if Valerie comes back and says, well, it looks fine except it needs this one thing, for example, which did happen with this shot, which is basically that she felt that he should bow more deeply here. He should really be, he's really showing deference to the big boss. And it's not a big deal. I mean, I just could add a drawing here and here, and in this case that would pretty much solve it. But there are situations where it's definitely clunkier to go in, because now you're maybe grabbing this stuff, moving it over, changing timing, moving it back, blah, blah, blah. So it becomes a bit of a logistical headache. So what I sort of realized is I need to take and just clone that set of keyframes, and then I can go ahead and do the timing. That way, if I find out something needs to be changed, I can just go back here, add the new drawing. You know, this still works fine. Drag it to where it needs to be in the final timing. But I can still get concisely back to the original drawing sequence. So that's that. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to add a new drawing. I have to say, more and more and more and more, what I find myself doing is, what I should have said is, I'm not going to clone it. I find myself more and more saying, you know what, just redraw it. I just get way more out of. There's never a downside to doing more drawing, right? So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and do this the way I normally do it. I'm going to turn the alpha up a bit, by the way, on the red channel, so that he's coming back a bit. And I also want to emphasize one thing I just keep learning over and over again, is that if the lines are right, the animation will be right. So more and more I find myself going like this, and just making sure that the lines and the points, as I have said in other videos, sticks and balls, make sure those are correct, because if those are correct, then you'll find that the final animation looks fine as well, right? So let's just keep doing this. And what I'm saying here is that his arm is actually cranking back as he bows down, is what's going on there. So let's go ahead and just get that happening. There we go. I'm sort of leaving so this is marking sort of where his wrist would be. Okay. And in this case, let's just say there's the ball of the shoulder. Where's the ball of the shoulder going to move to? Okay, well, that right there was informative, because what I realized is the shoulder, I made it too high just a moment ago when I marked it. It really needs to go lower as he bows forward. So in essence, from his chest, his shoulder has an arc to it, like so. Okay, so actually, if we want to be careful about it, we could actually put this dot in his chest, so we sort of have a sense of, well, what's the length here? What's the length here? Now, if he's coming toward you in space, then of course this line would simply get shorter. So in this case, maybe it should get shorter. But the point is, if I just get this sort of controlling line correct, and say this is correct, 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 okay, and say I do want it to move back a little bit. Okay, fine. So I'm going to draw this line through the shoulder, and here I'm going to say, okay, in order to put his shoulder where it should be, since it would slightly be moving toward you, I'm just going to take the ball and move it back this way a little bit. Okay, so now what we see is anatomically it feels like it sort of did what it was supposed to do. So we're going to keep moving in that direction. So here I find a problem already, because I was kind of moving too quick when I did it initially. You've got this arc, arc, arc. So that arc needs to be moving down. Okay, and I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now let's take, this would be easier to do probably with a cut and paste. So let's go ahead and go to the next drawing. Here, let's go Control V, and then what I'm going to do is just bring this way down, and I'm going to angle it and say, because this is anime and it's kind of an economical production, I'm not going to redraw his head for this one, but then for this one I am. Okay, so now we're back to the same situation where here's the top of his head, and in essence you could say here's the center of his skull. Well, where's the center of his skull going to be? One of the nice things is you can just leave your tablet over the screen and say, okay, that's where it was, so let's move it to here. Right? So there we go. Alright, so now we've got this distance here to the top of his head, which again will shorten slightly. So we're going to go from here to, let's say, here. Okay, but we want to shorten it slightly so it's turning more towards us. So you might find this to be maybe an unnecessarily mechanical way of working, and I only demonstrate it because in practice what I found is it really works really well. Okay, so there's where his ear was, and if this is the sort of the ball of his head, what's not going to move much here is actually his chin. So his chin went from here to here, but for this shot, it's really going to move back this way a little bit. Okay, so he's really bowing down, which means his ear is actually going to go ahead and arc up now. Okay. Okay, so this being the eye line. Okay, and then I'm going to draw the arc of his face, and okay, so now the question would become, well, what about his hands? Okay, I'm going to go one. Let me look at what is the fundamental shape here. Okay, the fundamental shape would seem to be a pentagon. Okay, so now let's say, well, the wrist is going to go to here. Let's draw our pentagon. Okay, that's fine. That's good enough, as we say. Alright, okay, so now let's say we got these two little points on top, and we've got to get from here to here, and say from here to way down here. So he's definitely making quite a move there. So okay, yeah, so there's definitely quite a jump between the two of those. So I'm going to go boom, boom. Okay, just don't want to lose my sense of the shape or the volume of his hair. His hair, the hair on this guy is clearly the hardest part of dealing with him as a character. Just because you really do want to keep it kind of accurate from shot to shot, what's going on with the contour of that hairline. And we can get away with a bit here because it is in motion. Okay, that works. So I'm curious if you're watching this video and you're getting anything out of it. You know, post a link and show me what you're doing in your animation with OpenTunes or other tools. If you're not a big OpenTunes fan, that's fine. You know, at the end of the day, what's important is this process, you know, of drawing keyframes. And a little bit of a thing here I want to correct slightly. I think let's bring that in just a little bit more. B key. Boom, boom, boom. So yeah, when I get in the groove and start really working, I tend to sort of get lost in this process of back and forth. And it's fun. It is fun. Okay, so I think we can probably get away with that in this case. So now if we have, if his head's going to be, or his eye line's going to be way down here, then that means that the strap or the wrap, whatever he has there, is going to be something like this now. Okay, and now just so I don't go nuts here fighting through all these scribbled lines, I'm going to go ahead and do a little erasing. And so we want to make sure we're cognizant of this center line. Okay, so now I can see a bit of a, just sort of a classic dimensional problem where I really didn't quite get this angle right. So that feels a little better to me. Sometimes it's good to, it's good to flip it just to make sure you're seeing what you think you're seeing, especially when you're a little bit dyslexic like me. Okay, hold on. Okay, so now, but just to be clear, this is classic OpenTunes. You hit this every once in a while. I literally don't know what just happened. And if I hit undo, okay. I'm not quite sure how I managed. It must have still been selected. I'm moving quickly, and so let's get that more where it should be. Yeah, I like that better. So I needed to hit enter, being that the selection tool is still selected. I probably need to just click somewhere else, or else hit the B key so I'm back into drawing mode. Okay, so now we have a bit of a mess here, and we actually can delineate the top edge with the eraser, which is kind of convenient. Okay, boom, boom. Okay, I feel like maybe these need to pop out slightly further, and or arguably the opposite, meaning that actually this whole section, I would say, probably should come down here slightly more. And remember, this is the rough, and this is really the best place to make these sorts of tweaks, because then I'm going to come back over it with the ink or the black pencil and tighten it up even further. Oops, didn't mean to be using the selection tool there. Okay, so now this hand, I'm going to say this hand actually just falls below what we can see. This one doesn't. Okay, so he's basically got a fist going on, and we can draw this in a very sketchy way at this point. So we're just trying to keep track of where things are. There's his thumb, and we kind of lose it there. Remember, this mark was for his shoulder. Now that I know where things go, let's get rid of that so it's not confusing things. Back to the B key. Okay, so now there is one problem. We've forgotten about his neck. Okay, so his neck, this one's actually easier than this one, but this. Boom. Okay, that really needs to be contracted a little bit. Now remember, this is going to be boom, boom, boom. In fact, that's actually what it's going to be. Okay, so let's do this. Yeah, I like that. It just takes him down a little bit further, and the idea is that he's demonstrating even greater subservience to and fear of the big boss. Okay, so that's fine. And this interesting thing about it is that as I've studied other anime, what you find is it's really strange. It's different than other types of animation, because if you look at, Family Guy or something, you pretty much have characters that just stand still and they talk. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're talking. And anime leaves you with the impression of extremely limited animation, but if you study it, what you find is a lot of times when they're moving, it's on twos. It's not so much that it's not quote unquote full animation. It's that you don't animate unless there's a good reason to. It's when the character is getting from here to there that you animate it. Otherwise you don't. You favor people standing still as much as possible, just because it's less costly. It takes less time and less work to get the final animation done. So in this case, I think we're good to do it this way. Let me see if we need to deal with his strap. Actually, we do. This wrap right here. I said strap, I meant wrap. So that, because this is blue, everything else through here is all going to be black. Alright, so here's the wrap as well. And again, same thing here. Line, 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 line. You can see it kind of flows around pretty nicely. We can get away with a bit here because, again, we're falling below the bottom of the page. Okay. And, this is not the most incredible drawing in the history of the world, I will grant you. But this is the character we came up with, Okay, so boom, boom. That's probably okay, except not quite. This section right here feels a little large to me. Okay, and again, I can't emphasize enough, if you're going to make these sorts of tweaks, if you can possibly do it at the sketch or the pencil test stage, it's way better to do so. So in other words, I don't want to realize I made a structural or anatomical mistake, at the inking stage. I want to figure that out as early as possible. Okay, B key, boom, boom, boom. And again, his strap, let me just look here. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and do a little erase, because we'll say that's the bottom of the strap, and then all we have to do is indicate the top of it. Okay, and then of course his hair is coming over it, the way we sort of chose to do it. Boom, boom. Okay, that's pretty good. And we'll do a hold on that. So I think just so I don't go crazy here, I'm going to set my start marker there. And I'm going to say that, let's see something here. Whoops. I don't like this pose. I'm actually going to kill it. I'm going to kill it and completely redraw it. I don't often do this, but I'm going to turn on the onion skin so I can see what I've had before. Because I really want him to be bowing down, and I feel like we're trying to retain the he's kind of on a 3/4 view. I feel like I'm trying to retain that too much. I don't want to go to this. I really want to go to this. I really want him to be down. So let's go ahead and turn the onion skin back off. And so in order to do that, I need to let his chin come more to the center and really be tucked in. which would mean his ear comes way up. So what I'm going to do is actually try to really exaggerate this. Again, sorry about that. Not quite right. I'll know it when I see it. Okay, let's do this one more time. Okay, again, as always, work from the known to the unknown. If his chin's going to come down to here, and let's just say the top of his head's coming up here, then his head would be moving away from an egg shape and more towards a sphere because we're increasingly looking down on it. I want his eyes to be way down here. Yes, that's better. Okay, so now as a guide, I'm going to say this is the strap, and we're going to lose the sense of his face for the most part. All we're going to really see is sort of a shadowy combination of eyebrows and eyes because they just sort of get mushed together from that angle. So that means that the ear would be back up here more, and then this is going to be, let me just sketch this in to make sure I'm getting this right. Okay. All right, so if this is this, we got 1, 2, 3. Let's make that a little smaller. Okay, and then from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that's just to give me a sense of proportion. That's better. That's better. Okay. So now we could give a little bit more chin. In other words, this is a deliberate distortion, just sort of a nod to the, just sort of the aesthetic of how we draw, animate characters. That's pretty good. Okay, so now I have a question. I'm just going to toy with this for a minute. What if we put Ninja 1 back in here, and his head is kind of up? So in other words, he has a more proud, actually, you know, I don't know why I don't use my webcam as a mirror more often. Sort of figure out where things go anatomically. But if we put Ninja 1 in here, like this, okay, so what we would do is we would take this and extend it back and copy it into all the other frames. So probably what I'll do is draw him on a separate, if I go ahead and put him in the shot, which would put the wall probably right here. So this is all outdoors. So why am I doing that? Well, actually I am going to do it on another level. I'm going to do it on another level right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this, cut it, jump over here, paste it. Back here, cut it, paste it. Okay, save that. Okay, and the reason I'm doing that is what I actually want to do is I want to let Ninja 1 have a little bit of a reaction. So he goes like this, and then I'm going to start here. Okay, so since we have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and put the rest of sort of the indicator of his anatomy in there right there. Okay, and the reason I'm doing that is so I can, I'm going to go D, D, D. I'm going to do 3 shots. And let me erase this. So it'd probably be quicker to just use the S key. Oops. Hit the wrong key there. Okay. So now we've got this. And then what I want to do is get to the end. What is Ninja 1 going to actually look like at the end of this sequence? Okay, there's the top of his head. So I'm going to say let's leave the top of his head pretty much where it is. Right, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Okay. Yeah, not bad. It's actually fairly balanced. Okay. So, in other words, this is our keyframe. This guy's got the bald head and the sort of the hair thingy-dingy. And the band right here. Okay. So now we wanted to get from this, which by the way, we should probably put his hair thingy-dingy in there. So now what we need to do is get from here to here. Okay? All I'm looking at here is chin. Okay? So now the chin here is going to need to be slightly more rounded. Slightly more rounded. One. Here's the ear. Let's work back from the bottom of the ear and say this. It's going to show up a little bit here. Then top of the ear. Showing up there. Okay, let's deal with this. This is up and over. Up and over. Okay, so that's kind of interesting because in terms of the cartoon, that doesn't actually appear to move that much. See? So that's cool. It's actually this indicator that kind of shows us what's happening. Okay, so now we got that. Good. Okay, well, work from the known to the unknown, so we know we're going to have this, and we know we're going to have, so it looks like to me, oops, I'm going to grab this, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go Control V, Control V, and what I think we're going to find is that contour doesn't really move much either. Okay, which looks a little strange since we know his head is turning actually quite a bit. But it just happens that the volume doesn't change position that much in this case. So now I'm going to work my way back from this ear, top of it, top of it. Probably something like that. Yep, right here. Come back over here a little bit and probably be angled slightly. So nice. Okay. So this line is going to be super helpful because, okay, so we want to go, this is the top, remember, top, go a little lower, a little lower. Okay? So what we're seeing actually is a progression from here, if you will, okay, from here to here. So there's our starting point, there's our ending point. So this is what's actually happening. But it would, of course, be a slight arc, right? We know that because we're animators. Okay, so center. This is where actually having another level that's just for guidelines would be useful. Let's do that. I haven't really done that much in the past, but let's just do it. So if we start here, and what we have to do, so I'm going to draw the drawing here and stretch this down. Okay, so now here, I'm going to just put my marker there and then move back to the beginning of the drawing. It's a little clunky because I can't follow the keyframes the way I would be able to, because there's no keys in there. It's not a bunch of separate drawings, so I can't hit the comma key to just jump back up to the top. Okay, so with that guideline in there, what does that tell us? What that tells us is we're going to go from here to here to here to here, and that's the center of the top. And over the course of these three drawings, that needs to go from more to less curved, and then go from essentially convex to concave, you might say. So now we're going to have, this is pretty easy. Yep, see there? Work from the known to the unknown. Okay, and I'm just going to delete this level because it's actually, it would probably be, I don't know, it might be better to just use a different color or something. The thing is, I'd have to draw it multiple times. That's really the issue there. All right, I'm going to go check my phone real quick. Sorry about the interruption here. The question is whether my little grandson's going to come over and visit. But apparently he's uber sick. Alrighty then. Okay. So now, back to this. Okay, so let's follow this now. Yep, that was pretty easy. Okay, so let's pretend that the top of this is sort of a ball. Okay, sticks and balls. Right? Okay. So now we're going to climb over the ball. Climb over the ball. Climb over the ball. Climb over the ball. See? Look at that. Now you could argue that, well, what about secondary animation? Shouldn't this one actually, this would be a good example, shouldn't this one, since he started this move, shouldn't this actually pull out a little bit? And yeah, it probably should. It should probably go kind of like that. So that's fine. We can make it a little bit tighter. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to say, the good thing, let me check one thing here. Okay, the good thing about the eyes is they actually don't tend to change shape that much from you know, even though the head turns, the basic eye shape actually stays really similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Control V. Control V. And let's see. Okay, and I actually like the way, just because I did cutting and pasting, it caused this is really exactly what you want. You want that, where the pupil leads the head, right? Okay, so now, because I can kind of draw faces, I can pretty much wing this part. I don't need to keep cutting and pasting. Wrong. something like that. So guess who I saw the other day? It's taken all these years, but I finally saw Kiss in concert in Nashville, Tennessee. And I have to say, I'm not, as a sort of a music guy, composer, I've never been blown away by their songwriting or musicianship. It's not bad. I mean, it's rock and roll, 3-chord stuff, which is fine. Certainly has its place. I key more into voices, frankly. And I have to say, Paul Stanley, he's still screeching pretty well. Being 67 years old, he's still got it. But the basic, I guess in one sense you'd say the selling point is that this is really being presented as sort of the farewell tour kind of situation. So it was really my last chance to see those guys live. And, it's like Disneyland. I mean, it's like the explosions and flash pots and lasers and sparks and I guess I said explosions, but kind of thing. Just it was insane. It was probably the most dramatic visual spectacle I've ever seen. So in that sense, those guys deliver the goods. They deliver on their promise of being, a real theatrical, engrossing kind of experience. It was quite good from that standpoint. And as I say, those guys don't disappoint. And here these guys are pushing 70 years old, and they played a full two hours, and it was impressive. Okay, so now what I'm doing is, for the animation purists out there, I'm sort of letting that secondary animation do what it probably needs to do. I mean, honestly, if you want to be real picky, you'd have it come back here and then add another frame, but I'm not going to do that. To me, that for an anime, that's overkill. Okay, so now let's go back and see how this looks. Okay. If you're going to be picky about it, what I really think needs to happen here, let me see if one of these other drawings could be, I could use this one here. Okay, so let's put that one in there. Extend this here. And then what I need to do, because what I really want this guy to do is he's going to look with a certain amount of contempt at his underling. But he's the underling of the big boss, so he's also going to then sort of check back to see what big boss is thinking or doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and okay, and what I'm going to do here, I really want that to be a different drawing, actually, now that I think about it. Yes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go D, whoops, D, D. I'm going to delete these, delete that. Okay, I got to move this over so I can go ahead and delete these, have this make sense, because I don't really want that rippling going on. Okay, so why did I make these duplicates? I'll show you. Because I want to do the opposite to what I did before. Okay, he's watching, and so now what I want to do is modify this so that again we have his eyes lead his head. I guess I'll try doing this way. Well, that looks silly, doesn't it? Forget that. What he's doing is he's checking in with the big boss to see how badly is this about to go here. Okay, so it looks like I made a mistake. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so this is actually the drawing that needs to be changed. I'm just going to delete that and redraw it. Just because drawing is fun, right? Drawing is fun. Okay, this one I want to sketch. So the danger here is that I'm going to actually get the overall size wrong, just because I'm moving fast. And the biggest challenge for me as an animator has always been to keep the volume, and I think this is true for a lot of animators, is keeping the volume of your character consistent from frame to frame, shot to shot. So I'm going to sort of move quick here. And so he's keeping his head down a little bit, because he knows that they're kind of in trouble. They're dealing with their chieftain at this point. He's annoyed because his underling, just out of a sudden ejaculation of fear, he spurts out, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry," to the big boss. There's actually some dialogue indicated there on the original pencil test, but it's not in the correct time. Okay. Yeah, see, this shows where doing a quick, just visceral sketch is a good thing, because frankly this drawing that I tried to reuse is actually the problematic one. It looks kind of awkward and a little bit stupid. So we'll see if we can improve it a little bit. Yeah, as an in-between, I think that'll be okay. Okay, and in this case, his hair thingy-dingy would actually be flowing back that way. Okay, that's not too shabby. So let's go back to the beginning of the sequence, and then what I need to do is, I guess probably the way to do this would be to stretch this all the way up to here. Stretch this down. This is how you do it. If you want to avoid the rippling problem, you just move it over to another level and then drag it back. Okay, so now in this case, what I can do is put the start back where it was. Now let's watch the whole sequence. See, so what actually, this is so sorry, boss. It wasn't my fault. And forgive me. So the words forgive me actually come here. Okay, so it's so sorry. Hold on. So sorry, boss. It wasn't my fault. Forgive me. Okay. This is completely wrong. And that's okay. Yeah, that was better. I have no idea if this is going to be the right timing, but let's find out. Okay, and our end point is in the wrong place, which means we can't really check it. That, not too bad. Okay, the only thing I would object to is the, at the very end, it needs to hold longer, I would say. So now we're going to line up all these levels, because they include the like background image and stuff like that. And let's just give it a whole nother second. Alright? So now we're up to 240 frames. So sorry, boss. It wasn't my fault. Wait, what is he supposed to say? Oh, forgive me. So sorry. It wasn't my fault. Forgive me. Okay. Let's go back to the beginning. Maybe pull this down. I'm gonna just gonna give him another quarter of a second. Let's give him half a second. Let's give him half a second. What's my fault? Okay. What I think is the initial pause before he looks over is too short. So again, I'm going to give it a, when in doubt, I tend to give it a half a second, just see if it feels better. Okay, splitting the difference. So I'm going to go, did I give it a half a second or a quarter of a second? I can't remember. That's okay. I'm just going to pull that back up by a quarter of a second. Okay, and I am now reserving the right to change my mind, but fortunately, since I'm just taking frames out of the whole deal, I can just use the insert frame and delete frame with Alt up and down arrow, which is how I have it mapped on my keyboard, which gives me the ability to quickly timing tweak the entire scene. It's just, you know, the tendency as the creator is to run things long, and then when we get to editing, we find out that we always wind up shortening them, and that's fine. It's always good to be able to just shorten things up if you need to. But if it's too short, obviously there's no way to, well, it's actually not true. We're doing the editing in Blender, and in Blender you could actually, you can do a hold, so you can cut a, well, if you actually had an image sequence and you cut in the middle and then cut it into two pieces and then stretch the end of the left piece, I don't know if it continues to give you more of the image sequence when you stretch the clip out, or if it goes ahead and does a hold on the final frame, even though the frame was originally a piece of a longer sequence. So that's something I'd like to know. Frankly, I'd like to have the option, because that way you could do a lot of retiming at the editing stage. So my basic complaint now is that I think, boom, that right there is too slow. So I'm actually going to, believe it or not, I'm going to put this on ones. Don't do that very often, I don't. I don't do that very often, I don't at all. But this time I'm going to. Just see how that feels. Yeah, that's fine. One could argue that for the anime aesthetic, it would be better to actually take the intermediate frame out so that it can still be on twos, because the problem is it took too long. If it takes too long, you have to take frames out, so crunching it down to ones does solve the problem, but it sort of breaks the visual aesthetic of being on twos. So yeah, I think that looks better. You want it to be zoom, zoom. Yeah, I'll buy that. Okay, so wow, that took 50 minutes, almost an hour. What did we accomplish? Well, realizing that this sequence with this guy, his bow needed to be deeper, because I think previously he ended about here. So then I took him down to a more deeper bow. But then I also really wanted Ninja 1 to be reacting to what he sees as... see, it's kind of an interesting dynamic. This guy is the leader of the ninjas, but all the ninjas work for the big boss. So the way he sees it is that you do have to show respect to the big boss and honor, but you do so with honor yourself. So that's why he's standing there with his chin held high. He knows he might be in for, a tongue lashing or some other punishment or something, but he's going to face it bravely. So what he's experiencing here is utter and complete contempt for his partner being such a weenie, sort of a chicken weenie kind of guy. So that's what's happening here. So with that, we're going to have to deal with ink and paint later, but I think that's a good session. And in point of fact, one thing I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to take a screenshot and so we have that for a thumbnail. And that is all for now.